Take the main character Maou from The Devil is a Part-Timer, mainly his non-caring attitude towards the power he holds, add in the art style, weirdness, and wackiness of Kill la Kill, and sprinkling the occasional comic book-like scenes, and boom, you have Blood Lad. When you consume any type of media, you oftentimes make comparisons to other stuff you have seen. Right from the first episode of Blood Lad, I kind of fell at home because of the comparisons I made to it. I've enjoyed those other two shows that I mentioned, so I decided to give Blood Lad a try. This anime is not exactly like the other ones that I did mention, but if you told me to give comparisons, I think I definitely hit the nail on the head there. Blood Lad is a supernatural action comedy anime released in 2013. It follows an otaku vampire named Staz Blood. He's the leader of one of the territories in the demon world, and like I said earlier, doesn't really care about his territory. He doesn't even care that he's strong and can be even stronger. He oftentimes stays in his room enjoying the stuff he has bought from Japan. A human girl named Fuyumi somehow stumbles into his territory, which is extremely bizarre. Humans should not be able to enter the demon world. He immediately has some weird attraction to her, which he couldn't really put his finger on. It does seem that he developed some type of bloodlust towards her because, you know, he's a vampire. And the other obvious option is that Staz fell in love with her at first sight. Fuyumi ends up dying in a territory dispute. Staz then forms a blood oath with the girl, who is now turned into a ghost, so she is a demon now. He decides to help resurrect Fuyumi. So throughout the anime, he spends his time trying to figure out just how. While doing so, he stumbles into, yo, wait, is that Haruko from FLCL? No? Oh, my bad. Her name is actually Belle Hydra, and she looks exactly like Haruko, and she's fantastic with spatial magic. She's trying to figure out just who stole her magic, which was used to help Fuyumi travel from the human world to the demon world. She does have a sneaking suspicion it was Staz, which isn't the case. And as a side note, it wouldn't be a story without a love interest. So throughout the rest of the show, she crushes on Staz and is jealous of Fuyumi, who Staz constantly worries about and is the center of his attention. Luckily for Staz, Belle had just recently sold a How to Resurrect book to another territory boss, or so she claims. Belle lied about that to see Staz's true power. After a fight between the two of them, she gives him the book, which nobody can read because it is coded, so they must track down the person who wrote the book. And it is pretty easy to guess who just wrote the book. It is Staz's brother, Braz, meaning a nice family reunion for Staz. He must return to Acropolis, which is his homeworld that is located in the sky. And before I go any further, I should make note that Fuyumi cannot hold her ghost form for very long. Without the help of Staz, who gave her his blood, she starts fading away without his blood and magical essence. Wolf takes her to Frankenstein, who's a doctor making monsters as his profession. A nice little touch there. Fuyumi is fading away and Frankenstein claims he can save her. He made a monster that needs slaying. He's been trying to make the ultimate being and it broke free. In order to potentially save Fuyumi, Wolf has to go kill it. Coincidentally, Staz's brother has the same idea. Braz locked away Staz's true power when he was young, and subsequently unlocks Staz's true power now, and sends him on the same mission, with his reward being the resurrection of Fuyumi. Staz takes him out fairly easily with his powers fully unleashed. Frankenstein is punished, or so you think, by Braz and Liz. Liz is Staz's sister, whose job is to punish people. I should also say younger sister as well. Really what happens is he's taken somewhere else and to work on a job for Braz. He puts on the finishing touches of a little project for him. I'll mention that later though. Apparently people up in Acropolis need the right paperwork to leave, which gets Braz arrested. This was part of his plan all along. He meets with the king of the demon world, who killed his father when he was younger, and Braz saw everything. In this meeting, Braz declares war on him. We learn that Braz has spent all of his time since his father's death figuring out a way to resurrect his dad, giving the current king a run for his money, and the only person who apparently can beat him. Braz is making Frankenstein put on those finishing touches. Braz escapes and also buys himself a little bit more time before his execution. Meanwhile, Fuyumi is abducted by the Hydra family, not Belle but her brother Nell. In this world, it turns out by some weird anomaly that Fuyumi and Belle's moms are doppelgangers. And what's even weirder is that when doppelgangers meet, they combine into one person. That's exactly what happened to their moms. So Belle and Fuyumi are technically sisters? And now the Hydra family wants to adopt Fuyumi since she is now a demon. Heads Hydra, the father, allows Staz to continue finding out how to resurrect Fuyumi under certain conditions. Those conditions are there to make sure Fuyumi stays safe. Staz has to ask Fuyumi if he can go into the human world with her, and if he can suck her blood. Overall, it's a great father helping his daughter out and protecting her against a dangerous individual, aka Staz. And after 10 episodes, the anime ends there. Staz vows to protect and resurrect Fuyumi. He now wants to become a hero instead of a villain, which he played throughout most of the anime. It also looks like he lost the territory that he held to someone else now. The classic family problems within an anime. The amount of family problems within this show is quite impressive. First, let's look at the vampire family, the Bloods. Liz is constantly looking for Braz's approval and attention, which she rarely gets. She's jealous that Staz gets more attention from Braz. Staz is distrustful of Braz because he thinks, and the viewer knows, he always has an ulterior motive for the things he does. Obviously, you shouldn't trust a person if they seemingly try to kill you constantly. Staz growing up was put through all these hellish trials by Braz, so it does make sense that he doesn't trust them. Hell, Braz even locked away Staz's powers, which to be fair was a good thing. If he didn't, Staz's overwhelming powers probably would have killed him. Staz had no knowledge of that until the reunion, so all this time his lack of trust for that specific situation was misplaced. Braz seemingly is just using anyone, including his own family, for his personal gain, which does seem to be revenge, obviously wanting his dad alive again as well. Next up, the Hydras, which is the spatial magic family, plus a lump in Fuyumi and her actual human father. When the doppelganger moms merged into one, it left Fuyumi essentially motherless. The mom is technically a demon and gone now. Fuyumi has no right being in that world, so she grew up without a mother, but with a fantastic father who always looked out for her. That human father even scared a spatial magic user. And like I said, the Hydras are now trying to adopt Fuyumi since she is a ghost. Head's Hydra is also a fantastic father, by the way. He too wants what's best for Fuyumi, and he wants her to make her own decisions. It does seem that the mother is clingy and pushy. Belle does note that she's annoyed by the number of pretty dresses the mother constantly buys. It is very important to note here again that Belle is jealous of Fuyumi throughout the show, mainly because she also likes Staz. And quickly, the last family is Wolf's. We don't know the full extent of his family because he was just tossed aside essentially. He was abandoned when he was young, and by a leap of logic here, seems to be the descendant of the king of the demon world. And it does make sense as the king is a beast as well. It also just makes sense from any story period. Usually when a child is tossed aside, they tend to be from some type of prominent family. They even gave a slight teaser type of scene in the final episode that gives it a possibility. There's this really weird love triangle between Staz, Belle, and Fuyumi. Really, it's just the two girls who really like Staz. I can't really say that Fuyumi likes him. Fuyumi doesn't really talk a lot throughout the anime, and it really just seems like she likes anyone that she talks to and gets to know well enough. Since I'm on the subject, Belle is the best girl and best character within the show for me. Staz doesn't even realize that Belle actually likes him, and he does have that weird fascination with Fuyumi. I wouldn't even really say that Staz loves her either. It 100% felt just more like general curiosity, since he did experience a similar connection with the mother. While I'm on the topic of girls, I have zero clue how Blood Lad wasn't classified as an ecchi either. Blood Lad definitely pushes the boundaries of it not being one, especially with some of the scenes. Even much of the focus in several scenes were sexually themed. To be honest, it might have been a better idea to make it full-on ecchi since they did a good job animating the assets. Something quite unique about Blood Lad is that oftentimes there would be scenes where the color palettes of characters would be different. For the most part, these scenes occurred during some kind of joke or awkwardness between characters. I would really like to see more anime pick this idea up and use it occasionally as well. It's just cool seeing different skins, for lack of a better word, on these characters. It's like you're playing Super Smash Bros. And two people are using the same character. For example, like Mario. So you see his normal skin and a different variation to it. One of the biggest problems with Blood Lad is with one of its characters, Fuyumi. She just makes the entire show worse in my opinion. Throughout the show, she's just there to be used by others. She's used by Staz, Wolf, Braz, and her own family, the Hydras. She never really decides anything important, and she doesn't do anything besides be used for the occasional fan service scene here and there. I'm not even complaining about the fan service here. That's just her purpose. She usually does not chime in conversations, even a little bit. She's a major character up until this point in the anime, and the character who Staz is on a mission for, but does nothing to help the story actually besides being a damsel in distress. I understand perfectly that being a plot point for others is a perfectly legitimate thing. Overall, she's just kind of there in the background. She essentially seems like a background character, and Blood Lad never makes you care about her. In fact, I'd say every character within Blood Lad, no matter the screen time that they got, is more interesting than her. The story is about her, but never really focuses on her at any given time. I felt like the overall story of Blood Lad just wasn't that great either. Felt like I was watching the story at 3x speed. That's how bad the pacing was at times. The best moments easily came from the randomness within the show, as well as the animation and art style. Like I said at the beginning of the video, the animation and art style felt exactly the same as Kill la Kill, which does get a thumbs up for me. Even the fan service bits definitely felt like Kill la Kill as well. I'm not really interested in reading the manga, but maybe I'll pick it up. I do feel like it would have fantastic panels to look at, and it would make it worth reading 100% just because of those fantastic panels. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, is the anime worth watching? Overall, I'd skip on it, and I'd give it a 5.75 out of 10. The second half of the show really dragged down the rating for me, specifically because of the pacing of it. As a side note, I watched the OVA, and it just felt like another episode because it literally just continued the story. I'm assuming it was a sneak peek used to hopefully entice people to help it get a second season, which it obviously never did. Why do I torture myself with shows that never get a second season?
The world may never know.
As usual, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Recommend a short anime for me to review in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.